I let my parents stay in my investment property, but they secretly transferred ownership to themselves, saying, "She'll never notice." When I showed up at their celebration, I heard my mom laugh. "She's too naive to take it back." I smiled and said, "Let's find out. The sheriff should be here any minute." Let me start by saying I never thought my own parents would betray me like this. But here we are. For background, I, 36 female, bought my first property when I was 25. I worked 2 jobs, saved every penny, and finally got a small 2-bedroom house in a quiet neighborhood in Houston. It wasn't much, but it was mine. Over the years, I renovated it, rented it out, and eventually bought a second house, where I live now. My parents have never been great with money. They were always behind on bills, constantly borrowing from me and my siblings, but somehow always had money for expensive clothes and eating out. I helped when I could, but I had my limits. 3 years ago, my dad lost his job, and they couldn't afford their rent. My mom called me, crying, saying they'd be homeless if I didn't help. So, like a fool, I did. I told them they could stay in my first house temporarily, just until they got back on their feet. I wouldn't charge them rent, but they had to cover utilities. I even put it in writing. A simple agreement stating that they were just guests and had no ownership rights. They both signed it. Everything seemed fine at first. But then little things started happening. First, they stopped paying the utility bills. Then, they started referring to the house as theirs. My mom even painted the kitchen without asking. I let it slide because, hey, they were family, right? That was my mistake. The shocking discovery a few months ago, I decided to sell the house. The market was great, and I wanted to cash in. I gave my parents 3 months' notice and offered to help them find a new place. They freaked out. My mom screamed about how I was kicking them to the streets. My dad refused to talk to me, but I stood firm. Then, I went to check on the property. Imagine my shock when I saw a "for sale" sign in the yard. But not my sign, theirs. I called the real estate agent listed on the sign. She confirmed that my parents were selling the house. My house. I was shaking. I rushed to the county records office and pulled the deed. They had transferred the house into their names. How? My mother forged my signature on a quitclaim deed. And guess who notarized it? My cousin. Her nephew. They stole my house. The moment of truth, I didn't say a word to them. Instead, I lawyered up. My attorney nearly fell out of his chair when he saw the documents. He immediately filed for fraud and contacted the authorities. Fast forward to last weekend. My parents threw a little celebration barbecue, thinking they had gotten away with it. I showed up unannounced. As I walked up, I heard my mom laughing with some relatives. "She's too naive to take it back," she cackled. I smiled and said, "Let's find out. The sheriff should be here any minute." Sweet justice right on cue. 2 sheriff's deputies pulled up. My parents looked confused at first, but then my mom's face went pale. They were arrested on the spot for fraud. My mom started screaming, "You wouldn't do this to your own mother." My dad? Silent. He knew. The fallout, my cousin lost his notary license and got charged as well. The house? Officially mine again. As for my parents, they're out on bail, but they're facing serious charges. My mom still won't speak to me. But you know what? I sleep like a baby every night. You'd think getting my house back and seeing my parents arrested would be the end of it. I thought so too. I was wrong. My parents spent the night in jail before getting bailed out. My dad called me the next day. "Let's just forget about all this, kiddo," he said, like he hadn't just tried to rob me blind. "We're family. We can work something out." I hung up. That should have been the last of it. But my mother? She had other plans. The smear campaign, it started with phone calls from relatives. "She's your mother. They just needed a place to stay. You put your own parents in jail?" Apparently, my mom had gone on a full-blown sympathy tour, playing the victim. She told everyone that I had stolen her house, that I had kicked them out onto the streets, that I was a heartless daughter who owed them for raising me. My uncle even had the nerve to tell me, "You should just let them keep it. What's one house to you?" One house? It was my entire life savings. I cut them off. All of them. But then, things got worse. The break-in a week later, I got a call from my neighbor. "Hey, I think your parents are back." I drove over and found my front door wide open. Inside, the place was trashed. Furniture overturned. Holes in the walls. They even took the damn appliances. My own parents had ransacked my house. I checked the security cameras I had installed after the fraud incident. There they were. My mother, my father, and even a few of their friends, hauling my stuff out of the house like a moving crew. I called the cops. The confrontation, the police found them at my aunt's house. My fridge was in the garage. My couch was in the living room. My mother actually tried to claim that the stuff was hers. It was ours to begin with, she argued. We lived there. The officer wasn't buying it. He turned to me and asked if I wanted to press charges. My mother dared me with her eyes. She thought I wouldn't. I did. A legal nightmare. I thought that was it. I thought they'd get locked up and I could move on. But they fought back. They hired a lawyer, using money they stole from me. I found out that during their little fraud scheme, they had taken out a loan against the house. A big one. And guess who the bank was coming after? Me. The betrayal runs deeper. Turns out my parents had been planning this for years. They had been digging through my mail, stealing financial documents, and even trying to open credit cards in my name. They hadn't just stolen my house. They had been trying to ruin me. The worst part? My younger brother was in on it. I found out when I saw text messages between him and my mother. She won't fight back. She's too soft. We deserve it more than she does. Just play along. When she loses the house, we'll all split the profit. My own brother had been waiting for me to fail. Counting on it. The last straw. I wasn't going to let them win. I got my own lawyer. I went after them for fraud, theft, identity theft, and anything else my lawyer could dig up. They thought I wouldn't fight back. They thought I'd roll over. They forgot who raised me. And I wasn't done yet. I thought I had seen it all. I thought the fraud, the break-in, and the stolen money were the worst of it. I was wrong. A surprise in court. I sat in the courtroom, ready to watch my parents squirm as the fraud case against them moved forward. My lawyer had everything: the fake quitclaim deed, my forged signature, my cousin's fraudulent notarization, even the security footage of them stealing from my house. I was confident. I was ready. Then their lawyer stood up and dropped a bombshell. "This entire case should be dismissed," he said smoothly, "because my clients have legally adopted the plaintiff." What? I laughed out loud. I thought it was a joke. But then I saw the smirk on my mother's face. And I knew. They were serious. The adoption scam. They had gone to the courthouse months ago and filed fake adoption paperwork. According to their documents, I wasn't just their daughter, I was their legal dependent. Which meant, under some ancient Texas law, they had partial rights to my property. It was a loophole. A dirty, insane, barely legal loophole. The judge frowned at the paperwork. "This is highly irregular." "No kidding." My lawyer jumped in. "This is fraud. The plaintiff is a 36-year-old woman. How can two people adopt their own biological daughter?" But their lawyer just shrugged. "They did. And until it's overturned, they have a legal claim." I could feel my blood boiling. My own parents falsified adoption records to steal from me. The fight gets ugly. We left the courtroom with nothing settled. Now, instead of just getting my house back, I had to fight an entire adoption fraud case. Which meant months of legal battles. Which meant more lawyer fees. Which meant my parents had bought themselves time. And that wasn't the worst part. They dragged my job into it. I work in finance. My job requires a spotless record. No lawsuits. No fraud. No financial issues. So guess what my parents did? They anonymously reported me to my company's ethics board. Claimed I was involved in suspicious financial activity. That I was being sued for fraud. That I was stealing from my own family. I was called in for a meeting. My boss, normally a pretty easygoing guy, looked at me like I was some kind of criminal. "You understand how serious this is, right?" he said. "We can't have someone under fraud investigation handling client accounts." I tried to explain. I even showed him the police report. But it didn't matter. They put me on leave. Without pay. I had worked 14 years to get to where I was. And in one move, my own parents had nearly ruined my career. The next blow, I thought it couldn't get worse. Then I got a letter from my bank. My parents had taken out another loan in my name. This time, for $80,000. How? Because my brother had access to my social security number. And like a good little scammer, he had handed it right over to them. I wanted to scream. They weren't just coming for my house anymore. They were coming for everything. Turning the tables. That was the moment I snapped. I had spent my entire life trying to be the good daughter. Trying to help. Trying to be fair. No more. I called every single person they had borrowed money from. Every friend. Every relative. I told them the truth. They are frauds. They are thieves. They are liars. I sent out copies of the police reports, of the fake adoption papers, of the lawsuits. Then I called the IRS. Because guess who hadn't paid taxes in years? My parents. And guess who had lied on their tax returns? My parents. And guess who was about to have the government breathing down their neck? My parents. They finally cracked the next day. My mother showed up at my house. Not my old house, the one they stole. My real house. She was sobbing. "You're destroying us," she said. "Why are you doing this?" I almost laughed. Why was I doing this? I leaned in, looked her dead in the eyes, and said, "Because you tried to destroy me first." And I wasn't done yet. I had spent my whole life trying to earn my parents' love, thinking that if I helped them enough, gave enough, forgave enough, they'd finally see me. But standing at my doorstep, watching my mother sob like the victim in a game she created, I realized the truth. They never saw me as their daughter. They saw me as an opportunity. And now that opportunity was slipping away. The breaking point, I didn't invite her in. She stood there, mascara streaked down her face, gripping the doorframe like she was afraid I'd slam it in her face. "You went too far," she said, voice breaking. "The IRS? The bank? Do you know what you've done?" I folded my arms. "I made sure you couldn't steal from me again." She gasped like I had hit her. "We are your family. And family forgives. Do you think a house is worth destroying us?" The audacity. I took a slow breath. "No, Mom. You destroyed us. When you forged my name. When you stole from me. When you told people I was the villain while you played the victim." Her eyes darted around like she was looking for someone to save her. There was no audience this time. Just me. And the truth. Then she played her final card. "Your father is sick." I felt my stomach twist. "What?" She sniffled. "He's been having heart issues. The stress of all this, he's not doing well. If something happens to him, it'll be your fault." There it was. The manipulation. The guilt trip. The same tired old trick. I stared at her for a long time, waiting for the guilt to sink in, waiting for that old part of me, the desperate to please daughter, to crawl back and say, "I'm sorry. I'll fix this." But it didn't. Instead, I said, then maybe he shouldn't have tried to ruin my life. The final confrontation, a car pulled up. My brother stepped out. I hadn't seen him since I found out about his betrayal. He walked up, hands in his pockets, fake calm. "Hey," he said. "Let's just talk." I didn't respond. He glanced at Mom, who was still fake crying, and sighed. "Look, I know you're mad. But we're still family. This whole thing has gotten out of hand. We can make it right." I tilted my head. "How?" He smirked like he thought he was about to win. "We'll return the house. You drop the charges. Call off the IRS. And we move on." Move on? Move on from them stealing my house? From trying to ruin my career? From putting me in debt? I let out a dry laugh. "No," he frowned. "No." I stepped closer. "You didn't just stab me in the back, you watched while they twisted the knife. You stole from me, lied about me, and now you think I should just pretend it never happened." I shook my head. "You made your choice. Now live with it." His face darkened. "You think you don't need us, huh? You think you're better than your own family." I felt the last thread snap. "You're not my family," I said, voice steady. "Family doesn't do what you did. You're just people I used to know." He opened his mouth, but I shut the door in his face. And just like that, it was over. The fallout the case went forward. My parents lost everything. The IRS came down hard. They owed more than they could ever pay. Their bank accounts were frozen. The fraud charges stuck, and they were facing serious jail time. And my brother? He lost his job. Turns out, stealing someone's identity is a fireable offense. One by one, the relatives who had backed them up went silent. I had shown them the truth. And when the truth came, my parents lost their power. The aftermath, I won the lawsuit. The house was mine again, officially. I sold it. I didn't need the memories. I bought a new place in a different part of Houston, one with no ties to them. And my parents? They tried to reach out. My mother sent letters from jail, claiming she had seen the light and wanted to make amends. My dad, who had always been the quieter of the two, sent me one message: "I never meant to hurt you." I never responded. Because at the end of the day, they weren't sorry for what they did. They were sorry they got caught. Reflection. For a long time, I struggled with guilt. Not because I regretted standing up for myself, but because I had spent so many years believing in them. I wanted parents who loved me for who I was, not for what I could give them. I wanted a brother who had my back, not one who saw me as a walking ATM. But sometimes, the people who should love you the most are the ones who hurt you the worst. And sometimes, walking away isn't cruel. It's survival. So I walked away. And I never looked back. And for the first time in my life, I was free.